back in.
I mean,
Who left the door open?
You gotta lock your doors. You gotta start locking your doors.
We were sure we got rid of it.
Alright.
So, my wife and I have recently been watching all of the Marvel movies. She hasn't really seen any of them. I haven't seen, like, a good chunk. Yeah, I like those movies now.
I went through, like, watching all of them right when Infinity War and then Endgame came out, so... Because, like, my dad hadn't seen most of them either. I think he saw, like, the Iron Man movies, and then that was kind of it. So we just kind of had a whole binge of watching all the movies. And
I know I'm super duper behind on all of the Marvel cinematics,
yeah,
but
there are some that, like, I kind of wanted to skip when we were doing my run through because, like, Thor 1 and 2.
Oh, you don't like those? I skipped Captain Marvel. I haven't seen that one yet. I
still haven't seen it.
I have my gripes about the movies, but, like, for the most part, I thought they were, like, really enjoyable. I feel like Marvel is pretty good, and I might even say better than most when it comes to, like, continuity as well. You know, over the course of their films, like, you can always see that Stephen Strange has the scars on his hands. You can...
Right.
I thought it was weird where after Endgame, when Spider-Man comes back, he's still in high school and all of his friends were still the same age. And I thought to myself,
I'm wondering if, like, maybe just they all died too.
Right? That's kind of what they talk about in, what is it? It's Spider-Man Far From Home. They say that everybody got blipped for the most part, except, like, a couple kids when Thanos snapped his fingers and destroyed
all the
half
actors
of
they need to be the same age got blipped.
Yeah,
exactly.
pretty much.
And everybody that's middle-aged doesn't really matter. Paul Rudd's just going to look the same anyway.
I wonder if, like, over time, you know, if they just, like, keep going with the Marvel movies, if it's going to become something like Doctor Who, where eventually they just... No, but where eventually, like, you just... So much stuff has been established, so many rules of the world have been established, and things that new stories have to be written where it's just like, yeah, we're just ignoring that part of the continuity now.
That's just what comics do. This is just a really expensive visual novel.
Yeah. I also think, like, I wonder how these movies, first off, are going to stand up to the test of time. You know, is it going to be as impactful in 10, 15 years or whatever when we have our kids watch it, theoretically? Say, these are the movies.
Iron Man 1 was still pretty fucking fun.
Iron Man 1 is cool.
I'd say Iron Man 1 is one of the only good ones.
Oh, really? You're not really too much a fan?
Jon Favreau, come on. Jon Favreau doesn't make misses.
No, Jon Favreau's great.
He only makes hits.
Also
running all of Marvel now?
Isn't that Kevin Feige or whatever the fuck his name is?
I know Jon Favreau did a lot of them, but his main project now is The Mandalorian. I know
Why do you think The Mandalorian's a bop? Come on.
It's Mandalorian's great. I know.
I'm talking about Jon Favreau.
Right. Okay. So what about him? That just Jon Favreau, the ones that he directs and writes are great, and all the other ones are trash?
I wouldn't say they're all trash. I just say they're pretty basic. I mean, you guys are categorically skipping Thor 1 and 2. Thor 2 most of all.
I liked Thor 1 and 2. I don't know what...
Oh, God.
I'm not going to say that the writing in those was amazing.
Well, good.
I think it's a good movie.
Why does he go from Shakespearean Thor to bro Thor in half the movies?
Because I think when he first comes to Earth, he's Shakespearean.
It makes sense. It makes sense in the first one.
Right.
It makes sense in the first one for him to be fucking Nordic Shakespearean Thor.
Right.
But for him to go back and forth on that during half the Avenger movies, what kind of fucking... Oh, I went back to Asgard and suddenly I've reset. My character's reset. I have the hammer again.
People do that.
It's because they didn't make the Thor movies because they were like, oh, we want to make a Thor movie. They made the Thor movies so that they could explain the continuity.
And it's still unapologetically stupid.
But
Captain America, the first one, is literally just backstory for the whole universe.
Yeah, that's it. And then
that's a dumb fucking reason to make a movie. Don't give Captain America his own movie.
But they gotta. But
the second one is so good.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier's good, but have him have the second half of Thor.
Okay, I have a little gripe about Winter Soldier, but I want to talk about the first Captain America movie first. I think it's important because that's the kickoff for the whole fucking thing. Why is that not important? Why do you think
Iron Man is the kickoff?
It's not. Iron Man is the kickoff for the current timeline. But
Oh
Captain America is where everything starts.
Yes, that's where the chronological timeline begins. But what about I don't know, the Dark World, where before time, when the Dark Elves were there, is that not the kickoff for the actual timeline? If we're talking about the actual timeline, we're talking about literal time.
So yeah, that would probably be.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Okay, but hold on. For the cinematic universe and the cinematic parts, I feel like
for the Avengers.
Mm-hmm. I feel like them doing the Captain America movie is their way of explaining how Captain America gets there. It's an integral part of the storyline.
It is literally that.
Yeah.
I'm saying don't make it its own movie because, for one thing, it's insufferably boring.
It's not.
I'm supposed to watch Chris Evans?
That's Chris
Evans.
I'm going to watch Chris Evans' adult, mature man face on a tiny boy's body.
Yeah, that was
for 30 minutes just to be fucking jarred by it.
That was good.
Just so that he can come out and fucking, I'm swole now, but I still have my ideals. Taller, bigger, stronger. Ooh, people are going to be on my dick.
Yeah,
just take all that information, break it down, and throw it in the other movies, just like they've been doing.
Or they could make shorts. Like one of the things that, again, bringing it back to Doctor Who, before the 50th anniversary special, they had a little short, 8-minute short, where they explained how the Doctor at the end of the first run of the show became the one that is now in the 50th anniversary special. So that it was that's all you needed, was just a little bit of, here's some context, some whatever hand wavy kind of context, and here's some character development to kind of get them into that state, and we can move forward.
So
you can do that with Captain America and Thor and shit.
They could have, in theory, but if they
Marvel's
didn't
helpless.
If they did not, I'm going to ignore that. If they did not make Captain America its own movie...
Oh, I'm going to...
Listen! If they didn't make Captain America its own movie, Marvel Studios might not have been able to afford doing the rest of the movies the way that they did it. If they made Captain America a short, Marvel Studios wouldn't have the same amount of reputation. They wouldn't have the same amount of funding. They had to make it a movie for...
Did it really have
I disagree.
Okay.
Not in
financially?
Well, all I'm saying is that if they didn't make Captain America his own movie to begin with, the first Captain America movie would have been The Avengers, and that's not a Captain America movie, that's The Avengers.
I think that would have been cool, because Civil War is basically an Avengers movie, and it's still a Captain America movie.
Because not all the Avengers are in it, though. Because if Thor and
Hulk is not
were in it, that would have been an Avengers movie, hands down.
Okay, but if Thor and Hulk were fighting,
Avengers 2.5.
if they could go against each other, then it'd be fine.
Sure, it's half the Avengers.
You have to bring the power tier down to make it make sense, because there's no Ultron to fight.
Right.
There's no Thanos goon to fight in the meantime to keep Hulk busy and off screen.
I'm not saying that Captain America is a great, well-written, super important to everything that Marvel Studios is. I'm saying that if they made it a short, I don't think Captain America would have had as big of an impact.
I feel like it could have had more hype if they had done it that way. So that, the second one we could have entered into it going, oh yeah, this is way cooler.
Yeah, I agree that not having his own movie undermines his character.
Really?
But if you had him appear in the first Avengers and have him, do all the shit and lead everybody, that would have been even better to me. Honestly.
Yeah.
Take all of his tidbits, because the only two important things that we need to know from the Captain America movie is that the serum exists and the Tesseract exists. Right. That's it.
Right.
Red Skull, I could give a fuck about Red Skull. He's not important. Even in Endgame, he's not important.
No, right. Yeah. Right.
I'm just the dude who leads you to the thing that I cannot have.
Right.
It's like, oh, cool, it's the guy. Yeah. It's the Nazi.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's about it.
That was his whole importance, was just like, oh, cool, it's that guy. That's it.
If the Avengers movie was the first Avengers, Captain America.
Right.
That would have been hype as fuck. And just don't even show us that. Have it be in the theater. Have that be the tagline in the theater. And just be like, Captain America's here. He's going to save the day with the shield. He's going to do the thing.
And then he would have been cool in that movie. And then, going into the second one, which then would have been the first actual Captain America movie, there would have been way more hype for it.
Oh yeah, we could have really done some more stuff with the Winter Soldier. We could have really delved into his character and took away the veneer of being Captain America. Mm-hmm. Captain.
I will also say though,
I fucking turned him, Soyle him. Look at him.
I don't really like the second Captain America movie, only because I don't think it should be called The Winter Soldier. It's a good movie. I like the way that it's written, but it's not. I feel like this was my thing when I first saw it. Also, was it's good. I like that Bucky's in it. I like that the Winter Soldier is a thing, but it's not about him. So why is it?
It's the Hydra movie.
Exactly. It should have been like Captain America, like Return of Hydra or some shit like that. I only read XMen growing up.
Yes, Wolverine. We know.
Yes.
Tom.
Yep.
Jump in.
You've been oddly.
I need backup here, bro.
Trying to. I mean, I'm just not into all these kind of superhero movies. I think they're just kind of like repurposed Ubermensch era, war propaganda, and that just power fantasies. It feels like a little boy playing with action figures, and I don't know. It doesn't feel moving to me. It just feels inauthentic and just plot points moving around. Sorry, I don't.
So I guess
we'll attack personally, but I just think they're bullshit.
So you don't like the 3-act structure? You don't like the very standard hero's journey that each character gets the exact same treatment?
It's all the warrior.
Stephen Strange is Iron Man. Tony Stark and Stephen Strange have the exact same movie.
Yeah, cliche.
But it's also like not what you just described, because you described like, what is it, the Silver Age of comics or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, where the superhero comics emerged from.
Right, like
that's the golden age.
Oh, right. That's it's basically that's my biggest issue with like the first Captain America movie, is that it tries to be like a Superman movie. It tries to be I'm holier than thou. I'm the goodest guy ever.
Well, that's his point.
Well, I know, but that's why I'm not into it. And then all the other Marvel movies don't do that, though. That's one of the things that I think is the most appealing of the Marvel movies, is that they took everybody's expectations of, let's have this hero that's like, holier than thou type thing, and actually show them as like people who just happen to have powers.
But
that's one of the reasons why Tony Stark is so,
banger, dude.
I'd say X-Men does it better.
Tony Stark, X-Men does it better.
Also Marvel.
Which X-Men?
Showing human sides as opposed to just warriors.
Do you mean the films, or what X-Men are you referring to?
For all the films I've seen.
Have you seen any X-Men films?
I've seen them all.
There's lots of X-Men movies. I'm trying to figure out which ones.
I can't think of any that doesn't seem to exemplify it. Maybe when they're more like the first 3 or something. So it's more like they're in reality, and less like time traveling shit. Because that's when it's just going back to
agree with that.
Gearing up for war.
I do agree with that, in the sense that X-Men, it has a lot more human connection to it. And a while ago, this was also one of my problems with Thor, too. While he's my favorite, because Wolverine's my favorite Marvel hero ever, we don't have to talk about that, everybody knows. But Thor, I had a problem with him for a little while because of the power scale that he brings to the table. And Thor is supposed to be a god. He's a god.
God tier hero.
Literal god. And then it's Batman with a suit instead of, it's like money. Selfish Batman.
Just money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Punching people.
And then the mantra and morality of almost Superman, right? But only just like, I'm a super person instead of being actually Superman. I feel like that's the role
Superman,
that Captain
but he can't
America
fly.
has. Right. That's the role that Captain America has. And then the Hulk, which is just kind of
angry
on the own. And also, how come the Hulk doesn't have any of his movies? There's no like standalone Hulk movies.
They keep talking about how it's too hard to do a standalone Hulk movie.
Why?
Because they always flop.
I mean, that's fair.
Can't find love.
There's been 3 of them, and they all sucked. Except for the Ed Norton one. That one was okay. And that one was okay to loosely lead into the universe.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay. I didn't really consider
that one came out, but I forget if that one came out before or after.
How much character growth can the dude have when it's just, by the end of the movie, if he's not angry, he's not the Hulk anymore.
Management therapy.
It's just Bruce Banner.
And let's talk about this. I fucking hate Smart Hulk.
I totally
hate
agree.
Mark Ruffalo
I
as Smart
totally
Hulk. He's
agree. I totally agree.
He's all suave and sophisticated, looking like Drake and shit.
I thought it was
like he's wearing the fucking sweaters and
I
shit.
thought it was funny. I thought it was funny.
Like Hulk's dicking bitches down.
Right. He was like Beast from
He's
X-Men.
killing women.
But so I want to kind of circle back to Tom's point of X-Men does a lot better job of portraying humanity in their heroes more so than the Avengers do. That's what I told. I want to totally agree with that statement.
Can you elaborate? Because I haven't seen the X-Men movies in a long time, so
sure.
I can't remember any like human moments that really stood out.
SK, did you have something to tag on?
Yeah,
to
I
that?
wanted to jump in there.
Yeah.
The X-Men, their story is about the subjugation of people. That's the human
victims.
element. It's about subjugating people that are different than you. That's why we like them. They're underdogs, but they shouldn't be.
They are the societal underdogs, not necessarily the physically capable underdogs.
Well,
Even
yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
next step, right?
their metaphor for what, race or sexuality or something.
I mean, I recognize that we're talking about the X-Men and how they do, quote, do it better, end quote. Which I still have not seen the reason for why, but there you go.
I could try to lay out a case.
Yeah, but my point is that like Tony Stark and everybody, like they go through journeys of like having to deal with what's happening to them in their lives. They have people they're dealing with, and the big plot that they go through is just a metaphor for what is happening within their life.
I think Tony Stark is the best example of this.
Yeah.
Captain America specifically, at least in my opinion, doesn't really go through any character growth, because I think part of, what they talk about with the serum is it amplifies everything about who you are more so than just your physical abilities. And I think some of his strengths and what adds to his character are the fact that this is my moral compass, I'm sticking to it, sticking to my guns, not changing. This is the way that I am, and I think this is the way that things should be. And that's his character. And I'm not trying to knock him for that, but I'm saying that I think Tony Stark has a much better total character arc from point A to point B, where you can actually see a lot of character development, specifically in the third movie, where he goes through those like panic attacks, right? Before Age of Ultron, where he... No. Well, I think that's a very realistic... Like that's
I'll
a real
jump on it
person
later.
thing. That's like a real personal thing.
I'm not saying it isn't.
Where people get panic attacks from whatever. I don't have really experience with panic attacks, but I was talking to a friend of mine on my way to the show about Tony Stark, and he said that from his own personal experience, the way that they portray Tony Stark in those situations is very, very real. The way that he has those panic attacks, the way that event affects him, and it affects his judgment and his outlook on like the rest of his character is very, very real. And you feel that in the Iron Man, or in the third Iron Man movie, you feel that in Civil War, you feel it in Age of Ultron, you feel it in Infinity War and Endgame. And even in Spider-Man, which I fucking love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Just want to say,
a little
I
silly
think
face.
he's the best. I think he's
He has
the
a goofy
best.
face.
No, he's the best, dude.
I'm making a
was my
list of shit I'm
favorite
gonna
part of
shit on
Civil War.
later.
Tom Holland was my favorite part of Civil War. I loved him. I loved it.
Tom, you wanted to talk about X-Men and how they do a better job, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on there.
Okay, so I agree. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. totally saved that role because he brought so much intelligence and nuance and like
unapologetically human.
I'd say Iron Man is definitely my favorite of the Avengers, but I actually just don't care about the other Avengers and their growth. I feel like they have these problems that are just set up and they're not really authentic. They're going to overcome them. It's just very staple so that people can relate to it, but it's not getting into the gritty. But then you have the X-Men, who they're starting out, all of them are kind of isolated. They are seen as different and abnormal because they have unique qualities. They only use their powers to survive, in a world that doesn't understand them, that it's trying to maybe even crush them. And I just love that constant vulnerability. Like you got, what's his name with the eyes? Cyclops. I forgot his prior name.
Scott Summers.
Yeah, Scott Summers. Like you just go through that with him, and it's like so sad how he's just like, I can't open my eyes. That's like horrifying. It's like, I don't care if Spider-Man's shooting little goo out of his hands. It's just
that he
that's
makes that.
That's a Tobey Maguire exclusive.
He makes that. That's not a superpower.
I actually thought that was the only way Spider-Man did it for a long time.
Well, it depends on the movie.
So did my wife.
I was like, what the fuck? You're telling me Tobey Maguire lied to me?
Yeah, really.
My wife
Sam
was
Raimi?
like, how does he make that goo? And I was like, what do you mean? You saw him make it in chemistry class.
Yes.
And she was like, doesn't that like come out of his body? And I was like, no, that was literally no.
It's different.
I think him making it is also laughable. Making the web shooters is stupid.
I don't know.
Oh, I made it. I made it. I'm a genius. I made it.
Everyone, I don't know how I feel about that.
No. Spider-Man. Oh, I'm really smart, so I can do stuff. I need web shooters so I can stay with my spider motif. I'm a genius, by the way.
Yeah. Right. He is super.
I don't like that explanation. I think it's lazy.
There's so much better ways of transport.
Yeah.
I have superpowers and I'm really intelligent. But like more intelligent. Like I should be an MIT. Like I should be running MIT because I've made this super compartmentalized, super powerful web shit.
It's crazy.
How the fuck? How the fuck do you make that? It sticks, but it dissolves after an hour.
And you can make it in a high school chemistry class. Is what they kind of allude to.
I'm surprised he didn't make it under his bed.
Yeah.
Jerking off.
Yeah, he just collects
spider
the
goo.
Yeah. Well, what are they? The Peter Tingle.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be a metaphor
they
for,
call
isn't
it?
it?
Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle in the second.
Yeah. So in X-Men, their powers are can be are their vulnerability. It's not just like the Avengers where their powers are just power fantasies.
Yeah.
It's like they have to. X-Men have to transform it.
Rogue literally cannot touch another person.
Yeah, that's fucking
Rogue
sad.
Literally cannot touch another person.
She's my favorite character.
Ever again.
Yeah.
She cannot touch people. Or there's a possibility that she'll kill someone because she doesn't know how to fully control her powers. She kind of gets to a point where she can, but she still can't, like that's fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
That's a really hard pill to swallow if you're a 16-year-old kid going through that, which is, where she starts.
She fucking...
Which is why the X-Men does powers well, is because if it's like, if you existed in the real world and suddenly you could control fire, you wouldn't know how to do it. It's not a muscle.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
I'm gonna burn down my fucking house, first of all.
No, I think... okay, so the muscle description, though, I think is a very, very good way to look at superpowers, specifically when it comes to like mutations and stuff, because it is like a muscle where
but it's a muscle you've never used before.
No, exactly. But you start off with it and it's really weak, and the more you figure out about it, the more you stretch this muscle, the more you use it, the better you become, or like the stronger that muscle becomes, right? So the better you become with your power. I think that's a perfect analogy for the way that you should look at a lot of superpowers, at least for the mutations, right? Because when it comes to...
Except for like Scott and his brother, because fucking Cyclops can't turn that shit on and off, and Havoc fucking blows buildings up.
Yep, and I mean, and it's the same with Rogue, right? Where like she can't,
they can't dial it down either.
It's always on, right?
And I think that's what is actually really versatile about superpowers, that it's not actually always like a muscle, right? That's one way to interpret it and kind of let a character kind of grow and develop through the use of their powers. But another way is something like Rogue or Scott or whoever who like can't quite control it like ever. And that at that point, it's really more akin to something like a mental illness where you can't just power through.
Right.
I would say a disease.
I would say more like an allergy, almost.
Yeah, through the metaphor of a mutation.
I mean,
because they need
it applies to a lot of all these real world kind of issues that people have to deal with, and you can apply it in different ways and have it, run in parallel in that way.
I'm just saying for that kind of power, it's more about physical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
We got to turn it off.
Put on a device.
Put you inside the magnetic field. Yeah.
Which, how the fuck does that even work?
They're smart.
Yeah, whatever.
I think it's something about the light. It doesn't travel through certain spectrums or something. I don't know. Superpowers.
Right. They're polarized.
How does Iceman turn himself into ice?
They're polarized. That's how.
Polar bears.
Oh, yeah. Any shades will do.
Yeah.
You can't hurt me. These shades are Gucci.
No, Tom, one of the things that you brought up was the whole, like, oh, it's just a power fantasy. So I wanted to address that as well.
For the Avengers?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think so.
Do you think there's something wrong with there being a power fantasy?
Well, I say just it touches me more emotionally, like the X-Men's kind of powers that start as a dilemma, and they have to figure out how to transform their powers into something that actually makes them stronger. Like it's a survivor's tale, you know. It's as opposed to Iron Man, Spider-Man. I guess the Hulk's a little more of a victim, but it's whatever. He's the Hulk.
Oh yeah, the Hulk movie is fucking sad. Bro came and jerk off.
Just the Avengers, they just remind me of a bunch of military people that are like, yeah, let's go fucking bomb them. And it's just like...
Isn't that the point of Civil War, though?
But, like, they touch on it.
It's
like,
addressing
the
power fantasy.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually. it's only
They're saying we're a militaristic terrorist force, and we need to be checked.
Yeah, it's just like...
Captain America doesn't agree, but...
then they just go to the action scenes, you know? It's just, they always go back to the
action
scenes.
Yeah, but that's the commercial part, though. I want to see Iron Man and Captain America fight. I understand the values at play because they have a conversation about it. They have many conversations about it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that Marvel continues to be what it is because of a number of facets. One, it's consistent. Two, it's got big names. It's got a lot of money, and it's appealing.
Yeah.
To the majority of people.
To watch superhero A fight superhero B or supervillain A or whatever. To me, like, and I feel like. Isn't that part of why we, I don't know, latch on to some superhero stories, comic books, things like that, is because of that power fantasy?
I want to be like that guy.
Why is it like, I you know, like as a kid, I can't tell you how many times I would have loved to just like, my thing was like, I always want to be the warrior in this video game. I want to be super strong. I wanted to be the strongest. You know, like you want to be, and that is like you can almost live through that fantasy, right?
The vicarious thrill.
Right. No, exactly. Through the comic books, I mean, you know, I'll say it again. That's why I related to Wolverine so much, is because my healing is way
who as
better
a kid
than anybody
never
else's,
tried to
you know?
Who never tried to do ki blasts, you know, from Dragon Ball Z?
Right.
At least once.
Oh, yeah, the
Can you pose in pictures in Boy Scouts, man? Like, come on.
Ginyu Force. Tom, every time we talk about something like this, you talk about the sort of victim and survivor mentality, and I wonder what that's about. Because you bring it up every time, and you always use that verbiage. Do you think that every character and every person has to be damaged, and that the only merit of being successful in life is by overcoming some kind of shortconnecting?
I think it's a good narrative drive. You know, we want to hear about how people overcome through great struggle. And I just connect with it better than, you know, wanting to be, you know, the biggest, baddest guy in the land, because I think that could be a potentially dangerous ideology to think, you know, you're in the right, you have all the power.
Sure.
And I don't know, it's just, you know, great power comes great responsibility, but you need to be more vulnerable, and I just don't see that in the Avengers.
Have you watched all of the Marvel movies?
I watched up to...
Which ones have you actually seen?
Can you name them all? I don't even remember, because they're all like kind of fade together.
There's only 4 Avengers.
So
there's the Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame. And then Civil War, if you really want to.
Yeah, I've seen all this.
It's definitely Avenger level budget. The core of my question is why the suffering? Why does every character have to start at such a disadvantage? Why does something have to happen to them?
I mean,
I realize that it's good narrative drive, but it seems like that's the only story that you're really interested in.
I think it should be equal, the amount of force you introduce in a story and the amount of impact. You know, it's like if you're going to have great force, you should show great impact, or which will probably be suffering because it's a drama. And so, like, if you're going to have superpowers, you probably should have super suffering.
Yeah, and a lot of characters have that. It's just not as well illustrated in Marvel.
I don't know about that. I feel like they touch up on that a lot when it comes to the last couple of movies, like in Civil War.
What I'm saying is in the introduction, in the
like
setup.
They destroy a city and they don't think twice.
See, that was honestly
there's a whole movie about it.
Right.
There's a whole movie about it.
That was one of my biggest things. Is like there's so much destruction in all of those movies, right? And at some point, it's like a little hard to watch, right? They blow up half of New York. They drop the entire city of Sokovia down, and it kills
I didn't feel that way while I was watching
it.
It
doesn't. It kills like thousands, like a bunch of people, a bunch of people, and they do touch up on that at a later date, though. In the first Avengers movie, nobody gives a shit that everything is blowing up. They're just like, "Yeah, Avengers, go!" And then,
well, I mean, but the thing is, it's not the Avengers' fault.
If
they weren't there, the fucking world would have been
That's fair.
gone.
That's fair. But I think that's a bigger reason to why. Well, like, that's a big...
I fucking knew you'd bring that up, you son of a bitch.
That's a big point of why they lean so heavily into picking a side in Civil War, right? Is because Iron Man and everybody that's behind him thinks that the Avengers should be held in check, where Captain America says, we need to be able to decide for ourselves when we should take action. Nobody else can decide for us because we're the people that are risking our lives to do it.
The centrist versus the libertarian.
Yeah. But and what I like about that movie, I don't know if they don't really offer an answer either of what's the right way to go.
Really
Obviously,
don't.
it's a Captain America movie, so you're like supposed to be
I
on
am
his
not
side
on
or
his
whatever.
Well, yeah, they're both wrong.
But
I am not in
I don't know, man.
Like,
they're both wrong. That's the point.
Yeah.
But they do it in such a way, in my opinion, that it's not these are two outcomes. What's another way that we can do it? They say A or B. These are the sides that you can choose, right? There's no C option. There's no all of the above. It's sign the contract and be held in check, or don't and be a fucking war criminal.
Well, that's what happens in high conflict, is that we don't have the opportunity to explore all these different avenues because there's an inciting event and we have to deal with it right now.
Right.
People want action to come from reaction. I mean, Scarlet Witch blew up that fucking building, killed all those people.
Well, don't they say that in one of the movies? We're the Avengers, not the Prevengers or whatever?
Yeah.
That's why they were shitting on Tony Stark, because he wanted to prevent all of this stuff before it even happened. And that was his concept for putting a suit all around the world. Where, Captain America...
The core of the Civil War film is just security versus freedom.
Right.
But the point of the movie is show that it's so nuanced that there really isn't an exchange of power that society can make with people that can really answer the question, because it's always changing. And even the heroes don't know the answer.
Right.
Clearly.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty painfully obvious.
I think we can all agree that Civil War is the best film.
It is. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's the hardest.
It's the only one that actually makes me question, is Captain America being a bitch?
Yeah.
And it pushes Captain America
still from the warrior mindset.
Well, yeah, it is.
Tom, I don't know what else to tell you. It's about a bunch of superly able people. They're not going to just sit down and have harsh words with each other.
Right. They're not politicians.
But there's going to be a fight at some point.
Like, that's what they do. That's the point.
That's just how we visualize conflict, is through fighting.
Yeah.
So, Tom, one of the things that I'm kind of hearing from you is the glorification of like the warrior mindset, right? And really like the glorification of violence itself, right? Is like that's the tool that we have available to us to solve whatever problem it is, right? And I think your point is valid in that we definitely have to have the exact same amount or even more types of stories that are about somebody presented with a sort of violent situation that then chooses to take the nonviolent approach to solve it, right? And the more stories we tell with that in mind, the more we as a society can kind of, use those situations to apply it to our own lives and maybe see another nonviolent option within any given moment, right? It's sort of like practice within our heads. But I don't think there's necessarily
cultural narrative.
Right, exactly. So I definitely agree with you there. But I think I disagree with you in that watching something like a superhero film necessarily promotes the warrior mindset. I would say it probably does glorify violence a bit, and I don't know what to do about that, because they are definitely a lot of fun to watch.
But to that end, though, so does the UFC. I mean, football almost glorifies violence. Like a lot of ways that we...
I have my own problems with football, too.
I'm not a sports fan. I'm not a sports fan, so we can talk about that all day after the recording. But I think that it's more a societal standpoint that almost glorifies violence more so than... like more than anything else, Call of Duty. I mean, the Marvel movies do it to an extent. A lot of cinema, a lot like TV shows, books, an endless amount of things.
It doesn't always have to necessarily be the violence either. Like I was just thinking about like what is it that actually I really enjoy about the fighting in Marvel movies and stuff. And usually it's not necessarily like the violence against a person. It's more just the spectacle, right? The huge impact stuff, right? I was thinking about, because I just watched a movie that was not Marvel. It was a disaster movie, right? Me and my mom watch a lot of disaster movies too together. And, those, if they're actually produced well, do a really good job of like, showing huge levels of destruction.
Absolutely.
And part of that is just fun to watch gigantic things explode and like things you would never.
It's fun in World War I and World War II propaganda too.
Yeah.
Thank you for
But I mean, like, watching a giant super volcano explode, it's like, that's fucking dope, man!
I guess there's a sublime element to it.
Sure.
Of staring into the abyss.
Yeah.
But to the point of the violence, I think there's a dissonance here we're talking about, because not all violence is the same.
Right.
Even in the thing of the Civil War fight at the very end where Bucky and Steve and Tony are all fighting each other. They're beating the shit out of each other. Right. And it gets a little gruesome towards the end. Yeah. They're really fucking each other up. The thing is that in that fight, it's not about the fighting. It's about the values.
Right.
And the reason that, one person loses or not in a cinematic fight is because of their values. Mm-hmm. It's the fucking, you're not strong enough to face me. And it's like, okay, why do you think, Luke loses his first fight against Vader? Because he's not ready to fight him.
Right.
And it's not about skill, and it's not about the actual fighting. It's just about the values at play. Now, watching a movie like Fight Club, watching something like Fight Club and watching two people actually kick the shit out of each other is really hard to watch. I don't enjoy watching Fight Club for the fights, and it's not about the violence. It's just, I don't like watching people scrap. Because nothing's at stake. Just bodily harm. And it's not fucking fun for me to watch. And in any given situation...
Fun for some people.
Okay, for the deviant. Sure. My point is that in a given situation, my first mind isn't, how the fuck would I beat the shit out of this guy? That's a very rare circumstance.
I don't know if I've ever...
I rarely ever think about resorting to violence.
Right.
Only in a point where I feel physically threatened, like, going to my car late at night and there's a guy walking really fast towards my car. Do I think, do I ball up my keys? I don't think that violence is that prevalent. I just think that we hear about it a lot in the average person.
And I think even in something like, Civil War, that fight between them, it's not glorifying the violence. It's
tough.
It kind of shows the futility of it.
It's hard to watch.
And it shows their faces while they're doing it and how they fucking hate what they're doing right now.
Yeah. This episode is going to be the glorification of violence in Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Which is good. I think
that's what it's turned into. That's fine.
I don't know what else to talk about.
I mean, the first half of it was just us going, yeah, Marvel's great, except for when they did this weird thing, and then now we're actually talking about the stuff that
I'll feel free to shit on it.
The context. Yeah. The context.
I'm just always wary of what everybody likes, especially if it's about violence. It's like it's happened in history. People they show films that don't show the realities of war, and people are like, yeah, let's go to war. That looks fun.
Now, Tom,
that's what Dr. Strangelove was about.
Sure.
Tom, you watched Breaking Bad. Did you enjoy that? I'm not trying to set you up.
Our series.
Yeah, but so I'm curious in your mind, what's the distinction between something like Breaking Bad and something like a Marvel movie?
They take more time to actually explore the emotions and effects and consequences. There's less about violence makes you stronger.
Can I touch?
And you didn't enjoy the scene.
It's
in the
just
first
a tragedy,
season?
which is. I think Marvel would be better if it was tragedy.
You didn't enjoy the explosion in the first season?
What's that?
When he goes into Tuco's office and blows it up?
It's kind of horrifying.
I want to touch on that.
It's cool, though.
For just a second.
It's kind of horrifying.
It also has a lot to do with Marvel being a superhero. The Marvel movies being a superhero series already makes it a fantastical fantasy
Yeah, we're kind of arguing genre expectations
where,
at this point.
Right, where like Breaking Bad is so much more
It's a crime
realistic
drama.
because they're just regular people.
It's a crime drama set in 2006.
Right, it's a chemistry teacher
It
and
shows
a
the
dropout,
realities. Yeah.
and a high school dropout.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the dissonance for you, Tom, is that you're talking about, the realities of the actual reality of a situation where comic book movies are fantasy.
Well, it's like, for example, the opinion of the Vietnam War swayed. Actually saw real footage and photos coming out, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's fucked up," as opposed to just the manufactured image that they were projected. That got them to go over there and fight for bullshit.
Sure, but Vietnam wasn't a war worth fighting anyway.
Yeah,
there's also a very big distinction between propaganda of this is the enemy, like in real life, and you're justified in going over and killing them, versus a made-up enemy and a made-up guy fighting each other.
I agree with you, Tom. I think that the distinction between war for war's sake and war for values is definitely something that has to be in place.
Can we do a little bit of compare and contrast when it comes to like DC and Marvel? Do you guys want to talk about that at all? Because
no, boy,
I know this is a big.
I'm really not gonna be able to talk
maybe
about
we
that
don't
much,
maybe we don't really even have enough time left to discuss it. But
that's okay. This is where we put forth a champion. I'll be the champion of the naysayers.
Okay. So we were talking earlier about the moral conflictions, the plot points when it comes to the Marvel Cinematics as a whole, right? Where it's not necessarily a bunch of characters that have their own character arcs, they go through developments. It's more so just plot points that are happening, and then things are happening around those plot points, right? When I kind of look more at, I guess, a DC or a Marvel standpoint, do you feel like DC is a little bit better than that, or better at that? I feel like there's been a huge argument for a long time that the discussion between DC versus Marvel, it seems like the internet fandom that I have been in contact with more so says that DC has better story and Marvel has better heroes.
The ambassador of DC Comics fandom has been in touch with me.
That's me. That's actually, I am the ambassador. That's my Reddit, is the DC ambassador of all comics.
Damn.
For the internet.
I do think DC has better villains. Like the Joker, it's one of my favorite villains.
Sure.
They got Two-Face is pretty cool.
Like Batman.
I like the Joker as a symbol.
Yeah.
I
think that's a rogues gallery element. I think that's the rogues gallery idea, that you don't just throw villains away when you're done with the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, rogues gallery is a term used in comics for Batman and all the Justice League superheroes of having this repertoire of villainry that they can fight against continually because they don't kill anybody.
Right.
Flash doesn't kill people.
They represent a value or something. Yeah.
Right. And they come into constant conflict with these guys because Batman always locks his villains up and they escape and then they get gangs together and do whatever they do. But they don't kill anybody. Superman categorically doesn't kill anybody. Unless, one of the 10 timelines where he becomes a villain.
Right. I mean, Spider-Man is like the only Marvel hero that I can think of that doesn't kill the bad guys, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just Spider-Man.
He's got a pretty expansive...
Yeah, I feel like it's
the Goblin?
just Spider-Man.
Did he kill a Goblin?
I think that's more of they destroyed themselves.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where, like, they die, but he doesn't kill them. Like, Thor kills people.
Well, yeah, he's an actual warrior.
Yeah, like, Thor kills people, right?
He's a god. He kills other gods.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Hammer.
Yeah, he smashes their head with a hammer.
Yeah. He literally chops off
Get
Thanos' head in that movie, right?
That's pretty fun.
Literally cuts off Thanos' head.
Just as a side note, I mean, Spider-Man is supposed to be the all-American boy for the Marvel side of things.
Mm-hmm. Not Captain America.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Because in the Civil War comics, in the Civil War continuities, the idea is that Spider-Man is the embodiment of the answer. He's supposed to be better than Iron Man and Captain America. He is the right answer. The thing is that he's too young to lead.
The child to be sacrificed.
Not to be sacrificed, to lead after one of them is dead.
Right.
And that's why I really like the Civil War continuity. It's just, I don't like the film version of it in that element because Peter's way too young to do anything or to really have a say.
Like
he's fucking Tony's boy in that movie.
Right, yeah.
Mr. Stark says you're a bad guy. I gotta fuck you up. Right. I'm like, okay. Thanks, Morty.
Right.
But I think that's why Spider-Man is one of the most appealing characters, and it was the greatest choice of all the Marvel characters to make a film about. And, you know, we can say the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie saved Marvel from going under yesteryear. You know, that's just the truth.
Yeah. He keeps his integrity for sure, Spider-Man.
That's why I can't wait to see my boy Toby come back.
Just like, I agree, honestly. I think when it comes to the separate Spider-Man, I think Tobey Maguire was the best Peter Parker. I think Andrew, what's his name?
Good Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think he
Andrew
was a better
Garfield. Good
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
But I think Tom Holland is the. I agree. No, I think Tom Holland is like the perfect in the middle, where like he's really good at both. Not the best, but he's really good.
All right,
at both.
I'll give you. He's all right with both. Andrew Garfield was way too cool of a Peter Parker.
That was my problem.
He
with
skated
him
and he wore headphones, and no one really bullied him and shit.
He was like the cool nerd, right? He was like where nerds are cool and like that's hip.
Babyface.
To be a nerd
he was the
was
hipster
like
dude. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Toby was a funny Spider-Man.
He
but
was great.
He was
as
such
Peter
a dork.
Parker, dude. He was the
He was
best
such a dork.
Peter Parker.
If he ran into anybody and they're like, "Holy shit, it's Spider-Man," it's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Peter."
It's like
He's too fucking awkward.
Like,
3 movies and he couldn't get cool.
yeah.
He got emo, but he couldn't get cool.
Right. But I mean, it wasn't even
Tried.
him that got emo. It wasn't. Even,
I mean, he got that cool dance.
It wasn't even
The
him
children
that
were
got
stunting
emo.
on him.
That's pretty
Right.
cool.
Wasn't even him that got emo. It was Venom that was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna take over for a minute," and he's like, "Oh yeah, we can be angsty."
Oh yeah, sex appeal. Except no one finds me sexy for some reason. It was very ambiguous. I didn't understand the sequence. He was gyrating, and some of the women were like into it, and other women were like, "What the fuck is this guy?"
Well, that's just reality right there. Some people are going to be into it, some people aren't.
I read an interview with Sam Raimi, and he said that the whole point of that was just to make Peter look fucking stupid. He's like, "Yeah, look how much of a tool he is in this scene. Because if you take the music out of that, and you just watch this fucking douchebag walk down New York dancing, you're like, I mean, today we might think, yeah, that's a homeless guy. You know, this dude's gonna go perform in the train station.
That guy is off his meds.
Anyway,
Or that guy is referencing the Spider-Man movie.
fucking A, Peter Parker. DC Rogues Galleries. Back to that.
So I don't know. Do you find that true that DC just has better writing? Does DC have better writers and Marvel has better heroes? I feel like the better
Well, the
heroes
movies don't
thing.
have better writing.
Oh, the movies are terrible.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Except for the
I don't
Dark Knight
know,
trilogy?
Right, exactly. The Christopher
Don't
Nolan
touch it.
trilogy, fantastic.
pure.
Just leave it alone.
It's perfect.
It's pure.
It's perfect.
It's great. It's amazing.
Well, we got the actual trilogy we're supposed to get
It's amazing.
with
I fucking wish Heath Ledger hadn't died.
I know.
Damn it.
It's so sad. So sad.
I would have loved to see the fucking Joker Two-Face team up in Dark Knight 3.
I feel like Marvel has better heroes. More so comes from the standpoint that DC has a couple heroes that almost have no weaknesses.
Sure.
They're all god tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
except
Yeah.
Batman. Batman's just a regular dude, right? And that's part of why people love him so much. Is Batman is like the top tier of what a human can be, right? He's in peak physical condition. He's super duper smart. He's an amazing detective and has a lot of like he has a good how do I want to phrase it? He has a really good like problem solving mind frame.
Yeah.
Gets
There's
mad
like
chicks.
superhuman human
Where
abilities.
Gets mad
he's also
fucking
right.
chicks.
He's also super fucking suave and sophisticated. Has a lot of money. Batman has all the things. He's the total package.
Human
He's
abilities
got
turned to 11.
a litany of good voice actors.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
But aside from him, I feel like Superman, especially. I mean,
Superman is damaged goods.
Let's talk about Wonder Woman for a second, because not a lot of people.
Okay.
When Wonder Woman has a brand new movie out, right? Wonder Woman 84.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't really know. But
Me either.
She looks like a beautiful woman.
Wonder Woman has so much power under her resume of what she has done in the comic book story. Like, she has literally pulled the Earth with her lasso, right, to avoid. I think there was like a meteor or something that was gonna hit Earth, and Wonder Woman lassoed the Earth and pulled it out of the way.
That sounds like golden. That sounds like golden age fuckery.
I mean, I think it is.
Like move the asteroid.
I don't know, dude.
Because it's way cooler to throw the Earth and fuck up the orbit.
Wonder Woman didn't think
about
that.
I feel like it's gonna fuck up the moon.
No, it wouldn't. Also, the gravity of Earth would pull the meteor towards it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't like listing comic book achievements because of all the different continuities. It makes the character seem remarkably inconsistent. It's like there's a Batman who merges with the Mobius chair and becomes a god who knows everything. Mm-hmm. That's not the Batman I know. The Batman I know is from the Batman animated series.
But they do that in
from
Marvel,
the Justice
too.
League animated series.
They do that in Marvel too, all the time.
I'm not saying they don't. Yeah. I'm just saying that when we're talking about the ubiquitous Batman, I don't think of Mobius chair Batman.
No.
I don't think of the Batman who laughs. You know, I don't think of all these. I don't think of all these different versions of Batman. And when I think of Wonder Woman, I don't think of the Wonder Woman who could lasso the entire Earth and move it out of the way of a meteor. Ironically, I think of the goddess,
Amazonian,
the Thor level Wonder Woman.
Right? Yes, please.
Right.
Because that's what she is.
Yeah.
If we had to give her a Marvel equivalent in the films, she's probably as powerful.
I would love an
Thor.
Avengers full of just hot, beautiful women.
Dude,
I mean, are
easy.
they making it?
They do that for like a whole minute.
Scarlett Johansson. She's my
Well, are
favorite
they making
Avenger.
a movie about it? I thought
I
just heard something.
well,
about
when Captain Marvel
the
comes
Birds
in,
of Prey movie?
right, oh god,
Oh, yeah.
no, we're not talking about that. When Captain Marvel comes in at the end of Endgame, right, and she has to get the Infinity Gauntlet into the back of the
with her smile,
she
Scott
gets
Lang
fucking
span.
punched out of the movie.
She doesn't even do it. She's supposed to she comes in as like an ex machina. I'm gonna save everything.
I'm gonna blow up the entire fleet.
Exactly.
T-pose down,
Smile.
and then he just Power Stone. By the way,
and then
get the fuck out of here, woman.
Right. But when she comes in to do that, right, it's like
They have
all
the
of the women come together behind her, and they're like, "We can do it," and they don't.
Then they don't.
They don't.
I
really dismissive of the whole point of that.
Yeah. They
what? No. Their only purpose was to curry Spider-Man with the gauntlet.
Right.
Right.
But
And
then
it just
Captain
made Peter
Marvel
look like a
gets it.
bitch.
Captain Marvel gets it though. Like
Yeah, sure.
she gets the gauntlet
In
and
the
still
movie,
can't
hold
do
on.
it.
When you were in theater or wherever you saw it, when you saw the woman come together, Valkyrie and all the people come together,
Yep.
did you think,
Wakanda
wow,
general.
this is the woman scene? Did you
That's
think that
definitely-
in the movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
It came out and I was like, huh, this is the woman power scene.
Yeah.
And then I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I've never had myself flip that quickly before. I've never been so aware, get pulled out of a movie so fast,
Yeah.
and then go right back in. I
Representation.
thought, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly
Okay,
how I felt.
fine.
Yeah,
Sure.
that is exactly how I felt, honestly, is when they all got together. Yeah.
The whole fight is just one big montage of the heroes doing things from the comic books and doing cool shit. It's like, there's going to be a moment like that.
Yeah.
There's going to be a
Dude, I
Tony and
watched-
Captain America movie part, and it's like, oh, cool. Peter's going to do some web slinging.
I watched the fucking Avengers Assemble scene from Endgame on YouTube all the time, and every time it gives me chills.
Which one?
It's cool.
It's
The
fucking
scene-
cool, dude.
The portal
when
scene
all
where they
the
all
people
show up.
come out of the portals and shit.
Yeah.
When they
And
actually
he
show up
says-
with an
and
army.
he finally says the line.
Right.
When Infinity War should have been.
Yeah. It's like,
Okay,
yeah, dog.
it's not just Wakandan army. Now we've got all the badasses.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
Oh yeah.
It
And
is.
Hulk in his gimpy arm. Ooh, I snapped. Why don't they just use the time travel thing to go to the a timeline before she disappears and just bring her to theirs?
Who?
Black Widow. Like, oh, she's dead. Why don't they just go to a timeline and grab her from that timeline and say, fuck that timeline? Now we have our Nat back. I
Because
know.
it was about
It's like,
loss and
oh,
stuff.
that seems morally reprehensible.
Right.
It wouldn't be right if I didn't bring her back with the Soul Stone.
Or just go back and like grab her before she hits the bottom.
Why do you even need to get her
The
back?
sacrifice is made. It's all about the intent.
Why do you?
It's all about the intent, rights.
Why do we even need to do that though? Why do we need to bring her back? Who cares about Black Widow?
I'm just saying. It's another thing. It's another question to ask. Why don't they just do this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there were a few moments. There were a few moments where I was just kind of like, well, how come they're not? How come they're not?
It's
doing
just
this?
when you have something as powerful as the Infinity Gauntlet, it begs the question of, well, why don't you just do this?
Right.
It seems stupid to not do this.
Right.
You got the time stone even.
Yeah.
You can just hold on, go all the way back to right before she hits the ground. It's a paradox, but it works. I still have the soul stone.
Now-
Fuck you.
And she's gone from the timeline, so you still have the reason for going back to get her. She was still gone, so it doesn't cause a paradox. It's fine.
Easy. We should write the movie.
Let's do a parody.
We should write our
Now-
own.
Do it. We can do it.
What
Avengers
I didn't-
Endgame version 2, where it makes sense.
What I didn't quite understand about like the gauntlet thing was like, I thought that by having the time stone in there, that when he erased everyone from or half the people from existence, it wasn't that he killed them. He erased them. Part of having the time stone is that they never existed in the first place. So shouldn't that have rewritten all of time so they shouldn't have remembered the people?
I think the point, well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Because the point, I think, I've heard the argument that the time stone is supposed to be so that he can affect all of the universe at once. But isn't that what the space stone does if he's allowed to teleport anywhere, that he should be able to affect the whole universe
Too powerful.
at once?
Yeah.
But
Having the time stone seems irrelevant almost.
But what? The space stone though doesn't let which one is the one that allows them to go through different realities though, or is that just like a combination of them? Is it the reality?
The reality stone.
What do you mean go through realities? Like change reality?
Well, no, not because that's what I thought that the reality stone was for, right? To physically change your reality.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that lets them go through different universes, is that just like a combination of two of them?
They can't do that.
But they do. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah, but not with the gauntlet.
When they go
to different timelines and steal the stones and then put them back.
Yeah.
They don't use the gauntlet to do that.
Is that just a time thing?
The stones don't exist.
That's just the time.
They use time
invented
travel.
time travel.
Remember, Tony figured out time travel at his lake house.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't fucking figure this out, and he figured it out in a night.
Right.
He's like,
He's like, oh, by the way,
yeah, I'm an engineer. This makes sense.
I just had
I'm an engineer. Sure.
Done.
Theoretical physics, time travel. Yeah, that's in my repertoire.
Also, I feel like I definitely have a gripe with the second AntMan movie in particular, where it seems
I never
like
watched
they're
the movie,
talking
Paul Rudd.
about all of this
They're bad.
scientific stuff about
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like Ant-Man. I like him in the universe and everything. I think he's kind of neat. I like
He's
Paul
fun.
Rudd. I think he's funny.
Such a throwaway.
But I think that in that movie specifically, they just make up like scientific phrases by putting the word quantum.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
like, oh, it's quantum this. How don't you quantum?
Back
when
to
you
the
quantum?
very
It's
beginning of the podcast.
Quantuming when you're quantum space and quantum time. It's like, dude, what the fuck? And like Paul Rudd even acknowledges it in the movie. He's like, do you guys just make up stuff with the word quantum? Like he says that in the movie.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah.
to dispel
If
our
you say
fear
it,
of
it's
it not
real.
being real, not being true. It's just Captain America all over again.
Yeah.
The only reason that Ant-Man exists is to introduce the concept of the quantum realm. Because it doesn't make sense to introduce it with any of the other characters.
Right.
We need Ant-Man for this.
Right.
So that we can ham fist our time travel in Endgame.
Yeah.
Honestly, when Infinity War happened and he snapped them all out of existence, I thought that they just went to a separate universe. I thought there was two universes in parallel, and half the people were at their own, and the other half were the other. So I thought in Endgame there was going to be two stories running parallel, trying to merge the universes back together.
They got banished to
that's
the cornfield.
I thought
That'd be really cool.
I was like, whoa! I cracked the code.
It's like the Twilight Zone where they get banished to the cornfield.
I thought for fucking sure that was what was going to happen. No, I know what you're talking about. Banished to the cornfield.
Okay.
I really, really, really
love
thought
that
that was
Twilight
going to
Zone.
happen. I was so excited.
Can I tell you something that is real?
Israel?
Something
My love
Got 'em.
for you.
called quantum loop gravity. That's a real thing.
Shut the fuck up.
Sounds made up.
I had
It
to
does
Google,
sound
like,
made up.
quantum to figure out like what the fuck they were even talking about.
Yeah,
and it
quantum
did
makes
not
me think
help.
it's fake.
It did not help at all.
It's both fake and real.
I was like, what the fuck does
It's
quantum even?
It's actually
because,
both
like I know
and
that
neither.
like quantum physics is real, right? Like that's a real concept. And so I had to Google what
A real theoretical concept.
Right, a real theoretical concept. Yeah, I had to Google what quantum meant to
be
just
debated.
like try and understand what they were talking about in the movie, and it did not help at all.
Means a little.
It's a little what?
I think it's tinier, actually.
Yeah, it is.
It's probably smaller. You know, it's
Yeah.
more like this.
Enlarged for
Right.
Yeah,
Enlarged for illustrative purposes.
Yeah. Not actual size.
I think quantum was his dick.
You could think of it,
I
yeah,
like-
twice the size of your dick. You know,
Ouch!
what quantum is.
Dang! Ouch, man. We don't talk
Got
about
him
that.
and didn't
We
get
don't
him at the
talk
same
about that.
time.
That's too real. That's too
I don't know
real.
what quantum means. Still,
Oh.
that's unfathomable.
Just kill the cat, why don't you? Just fucking kill the
Yeah,
cat.
man.
Yeah, Schrodinger.
That's the zinger to
Dick.
end the episode on.
So, okay. Well, we can. I'm fine. with
Quantum
that.
is
No,
Yeah, yeah,
twice the
quantum.
size of your dick.
It's like,
No, if you got something else,
I mean, I kind of do. I just.
Go
You
ahead.
can just edit it
It
around.
was just some. Well, I mean. it
Oh
was
yeah, I'll just edit it.
It was just a. It was. We'll just make SK do it whenever. But I mean, one of
Don't
the
ask
things
me
that-
for
graphic
anything
department.
else then. Don't. Oh, where's the logo? Where's the animation?
So-
Oh boy, I've been fucking listening to podcasts for 6 hours.
I think that if I recall, aren't the X-Men supposed to be a part of the Infinity War also? So I think
I believe so.
in the Marvel films,
Mhm.
are they just on a different Earth? Like the X-Men don't exist on
I'm
Earth
assuming
616?
that in the cinematic universe, whatever mutative thing has happened hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
hasn't happened yet.
Otherwise, how else are they gonna? I mean, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are supposed to be mutants.
Right, but
in
they
their
said that they were
original
experiments.
iteration.
Yeah, they're supposed to be Magneto's kids.
Yeah, but in this version, they made them Inhumans.
Right. They're
And
enhanced.
Magneto's
They're
fucking
enhanced.
wife and child and fucking shot off an arrow.
Yeah,
What?
He's like, why does this always happen to me?
yeah.
Bro.
They're supposed to be Magneto's
I
kids.
forget which
and
film.
they
Apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah, one of the X-Men movies.
yeah. I am looking forward to what
Yeah,
Marvel
boink.
Studios does with the X-Men movies, though.
I'm assuming that they're
Even
going to
though-
use the unblip as the reason that the cosmic energy from the snap created the mutants.
Probably.
Oh, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
I don't know.
Yeah, but if I can think of it, it's a stupid reason.
Fair.
It's just, oh yeah, easy. The 2 snaps. That's the first wave of mutants and the second wave. Magneto's just gonna be a full ass grown adult. Just fucking. I was never in Auschwitz, but I can bend metal. Look at me, I'm really cool.
Well, that's why I just think that it would be
Every
better.
and they
time I have a
actually they could
child, I die.
they could retcon Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch being his kids. He could just be their dad.
Just their
My son
normal
is
dad.
dead. My daughter is angry that her sex doll was killed. I'm gonna bend metal like fuck.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Watch your pocket
Where's
change.
Wolverine? I'm gonna fuck that dude up.
I mean, the Hulk
Bend
and
his
Wolverine-
bones.
I mean, the first rendition of
violate
Wolverine
himself.
was in a Hulk comic, wasn't it? So like, there's your Hulk movie. There's your Hulk movie. Hulk and Wolverine.
Yeah, Hulk versus Wolverine.
And
That's
they
a good
get
animated one.
Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine.
Daniel Radcliffe.
yeah, he made a joke about
As Wolverine,
yeah. They were like,
he's actually like
Could Jonah Hill be the
proportionally
Hulk?
correct.
yeah, dude. Did you
He's
guys
the right
know that
height.
Wolverine is 5'3"? That blew.
Yeah, he's
my
super short.
mind.
He's a manlet.
That blew my mind when I found that out. Honestly.
They almost passed on Hugh Jackman because he was so tall.
Yeah.
Like, boy, it's
And
fucking
old.
dude's
Yeah.
6'2".
Yeah. You're like
Bro,
literally
it's tall.
a foot
That's not
taller
what
than
Wolverine's supposed to be
Wolverine.
about.
Yeah. When
Wolverine's
I found
supposed to
that
be tiny and mean.
when I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, the name Wolverine kind of makes more sense now that he's 5'3". It's like, yeah, he's a little.
He's
just
always
like,
been baby boy.
like, I just never knew.
Hugh
I never
Jackman
knew.
is just huge
Yeah,
jacked
I never
man.
knew until pretty recently. You know, like because like in a lot of the comic book panels, like it's not really a great comparison for his height against some of the other people.
Bro, you make him full in the panel, fucking Tony's all the way up here at fucking 5'8".
I mean, yeah.
You know? Like, you're like, Jesus Christ! Wolverine!
Yeah, he's a little.
You
he's
go
a
after
little-
Thanos' ankles.
He's a little guy.
We'll get the rest of him.
Yeah, I.
I'm glad you like that one. I have a hard time believing that 5'3" Wolverine fucks.
Dude, he fucks. All right.
I imagine he fucks like a rabbit, you know?
Yeah. He's just like,
it's
he'll just, like,
fucking...
grapple around the thighs and just be like,
Yeah. No chance of survival.
no.
pounded into submission.
Yeah, that's how he does it, man. That's how he does it.
Thanks for joining us on the Soyle Podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing us.
There it is.
Talk about Marvel and our superheroes and how DC's
Talk
better
about so
sometimes.
much shit.
Yeah, we talked about a lot.
Yeah. Oh, we talked about that.
If you'd like, give us.
We learned a lot.
Click
This
that
was a good
subscribe
one.
button, like it, share with your friends who like Marvel or hate it. Just show we cover both perspectives, so everybody's gonna love it. Share it with everybody.
Tom, where can they find where all can they find the podcast, Tom?
Ooh, that's a good question. What was it?
I didn't study for this test.
wait,
It's all on YouTube,
Facebook, Google,
I think it's on Instagram,
Anchor,
Spotify, Google.
whatever that is.
It's
Spotify?
a podcast. It's a
Podcast app,
podcast. So
Apple.
there's lots of audio platforms as well.
Audio platforms.
Wherever you listen to your podcasts. Like Spotify or Apple Music or Google Podcasts. I think it's just podcasts now. Just check us out wherever you want to listen to us. And whatever that thing is there, do the thing.
Who's your favorite Marvel superhero? What kind of moral dilemmas do you have about it?
I like the call to action after the wrap up.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us what you think about Matt's dick being half the size of a quantum unit?
Why don't we talk about that? That's the main question that we want answered. How do you guys
Put
feel
a microscope
about
emoji in the comments.
about my half a quantum dick?
All right. Yeah.
We love you.